Let me paint the scene. You've been video game collecting for a long time, maybe you've just started, but there's been that game that you've wanted for a very, very long time. Certain games are considered expensive to some and not to others, so you'll have to use your own discretion, but let's just say you've been after this game for a long time. It could even be considered a grail. So for me, for example, a game like this would be worth anywhere between around £70 and £120. I can't really imagine me ever paying more than that for a video game, and off the top of my head I can only maybe think of one or two in that price range anyway. And I know new games can cost 70 quid right off the bat, but of course we're talking older stuff here, well I am anyway. Mega Drive for example, I wouldn't pay more than £100 for a Mega Drive game, and if I do, you know I've made it. But anyway, with that being said, let's get back on topic. You're after your grail, maybe you've been searching for months, maybe you've been searching for years or even decades at this point, but you eventually put your hands on this grail, you pay a price that you're willing to pay, you think it's a fair price, you finally get it, you've never played it before, but you've always wanted it. You put it into the console, and it's bad. What do? The answer will be different for everyone. Now, I say the answer will be different because obviously every collector is different. There are some who like to collect new and sealed and will never open them. Some who collect purely for that profit in the future. And others, like myself, will collect because they're the games that you enjoy playing, the games you want to have on the shelf that maybe have that nostalgic feeling, or games that you plan to play in the future. Now, with that being said, if I'd bought a game that cost me maybe £100 plus, and I pop it into the console, whatever console it may be, Mega Drive, Switch, you name it, and I decide, you know what, I don't like this game, I'm not the kind of person who would just keep it. And I have done it in the past, of course. I have had games and decided that I didn't really want them, played them and thought, no, not for me, and got rid of them. I'm not a collector who will just play it and go, no, that's trash, on the shelf it goes. I will say, I will make an exception for lower end nostalgic games. Primal Rage on the Mega Drive, perfect example of this. That game as a kid, really enjoyed it, completely different. It's not that expensive these days. I tried it not so long ago when I picked it up again. It's awful. It is a terrible, terrible game that has not stood the test of time. However, it's really cheap and it holds a nostalgic feeling for me every time I see it on the shelf. It's kind of tainted now that I look at it and think, wow, that is a bad game. But I do still have fond memories of playing it. And of course, I'm talking about a grail that you've maybe never played before. Maybe you played when you went over your friend's house as a kid or something. You've got fond memories of it. But maybe you've never owned it before. So you go out and buy this game, you pop it in. Oh no, not a good game. What do? I know plenty of people who would just be like, well, that's part of collecting, game's trash, but it's a grail that I wanted, on the shelf it goes, in a protector, and it'll remain there until you either sell your collection off, or you die, and then your wife sells your collection off. Either way, my point is, a lot of people would just put up with it and say, well, it's a grail I've wanted for a while, it doesn't matter if it's a bad game, it's a game that I've wanted. That, to me, that doesn't make any sense. Because it's the type of collector that I am. Every game that you see behind me on the shelf, or the games that I've picked up in the series so far, are all going to be played or have been played already. And if I pick up a brand new game or a game that I've never played before and I don't like it, I will not be afraid to get rid of it. Cris Tales on the Switch is a game that I'm actually anticipating selling in the future because I probably won't like it. But I want to play it before I decide, so at the moment it's in the collection. But if I've just dropped £100 on a Mega Drive game and I test it out and I'm like, ugh, this isn't very good, there is absolutely no way that I would keep hold of that because I've just dropped 100 quid on this game. I can't keep it if it's worth that much money and I don't actually like it, have any nostalgia for it, or plan to ever play it again in the future. That could bring me on to different types of collectors, but I won't go there just yet. Maybe we'll do that for another video. Feel free to let me know what type of collector you are in the comments, of course, and then maybe we'll revisit that in another video. But I do know that a lot of people collect to have it on the shelf just for the sake of having it on the shelf. If you're a fan of the Mega Drive or Super Nintendo, it doesn't matter what the game is, it doesn't matter if you've ever played it or if you even intend on playing it, having it on the shelf is as important as enjoying that game. And I more than understand that reasoning behind it. It's just not for me personally, and that's why if I bought a game that was that expensive and I didn't like it, it would absolutely be going back to the store or on eBay, or I'd be looking to swap it with someone else for a game that I actually enjoy playing. The game that you see behind me is actually a prime example of this as well. Sonic Mania Plus is a game that I bought on the PlayStation 4, played it and didn't really enjoy it, so I sold it. Now, of course, I have it back again on the Switch, partly because it was a very, very reasonable price, and I thought to myself, if you're ever going to buy this game and own it and maybe try it again, now's the time, because I think it was like £10 or under. And to be honest, since selling the PlayStation 4 version, my mind has changed a little bit about video games. I'll talk about that in an upcoming video. However, I've since played it again, and to be fair, I actually enjoy it now. But that's the burning question of today's video. You may have already answered it, but if you've just dropped an unholy amount of money on the Grail that you've been after for a while, maybe a long time, and it turns out to be not the game that you thought it was, or maybe you just don't enjoy it for whatever reason, would you keep it? Have you kept it if this has happened to you already? Let me know in the comments. If you want to check out a video from my series, you can click here, and until the next time, goodbye.